What's up guys, it's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. And as you can see, the saga continues. So welcome everyone to the May 2024 balance update, or the imbalance update as we should call it. There are some big goings on happening in the game at the moment, and a lot of them I'm not a huge fan of. So I have been waiting all day to put this together. And I've seen a couple of other videos, but I really wanted to just sort of read between the lines in this update, because there is some stuff that I think everybody should really be aware of. Not that you aren't already, I know that everybody's not dumb, but this is the biggest wolf in sheep's clothing update that I've ever seen from this game. So having a look over this, I mean, basically they've dressed it up to make it look like everybody is getting buffs. So the Gargoyle family, it looks like, you know, Gartan's getting a buff and Popit's getting a buff. Straight up, I can tell you that that little green arrow should not be next to Gartan. He is getting a nerf. I'm telling you guys now, he's getting a nerf. Again, the Investigator and Cultist families, she's got a green arrow up next to her. And the only reason that is there is because they really didn't realize how much of a mess the insanity skill was going to be. And these groups of families really need a rework. And it is, you know, it's affecting the top 0.1% of players in the game, which is why they do need a rework. Some of the updates are pretty cool. Bow and Runt's adjustment is absolutely not, I mean, it shouldn't have even been necessary. You need to increase his what's the word, element link. Haven't you had like 7 years to be able to get the element links right? I'm just saying. And costume Gormek's adjustment, that is laughable. I was saying when I did the video on him recently that he should have been a defense down hero, but why they changed him to an attack down and how it's taken them this long to notice, I have absolutely no idea. But we're going to go ahead and we'll have a look at the balance update. We want to start off with the big one. I am also going to be doing a bit of a master class, shall we say, on the master talents. So just, you know, obviously they've just been introduced. We all get some for free, and I'm sure you want to know where to use them and what the best talent classes are. But I think that that is best reserved for a separate video. So I will be releasing that as soon as I'm able to, and definitely before you have to make your mind up. Okay, I promise, guys. So let's have a look at what they're saying here. So we've got the changes for the May balance update 2024. First one is the Gargoyle family. So the soft skin's been updated. It says soft skin now also reduces damage by 90% and resists all status ailments. The old soft skin resisted mana reductions. The new soft skin reduces damage received by the hero by 90%, and they resist all status ailments and mana reductions. Okay, we all knew that soft skin was terrible. I mean, when soft skin was released, it was like, okay, is this what they've chosen to replace the stone skin with? And stone skin reduced all received damage to 1 for a certain amount of turns depending on the speed of the hero. And that is now very similar for what soft skin does. So they reduce the damage by 90%, but they also resist all status ailments. I love it. I mean, I'm thinking it's a good balance for the Gargoyle heroes. We've always known that they have some kind of stone skin effect from previous, so why should the soft skin be any different? Okay, I mean, that is a good fix. The affected heroes, it says obviously a Gartan and Popit. Now, let's get on to this poor guy, honestly. So Gartan's special skill's been updated. They have removed the counterattack effect. So the old effect was that all allies counterattack with 115% of the damage received and receive 50% of counterattack damage as boosted health for 4 turns. So he was a hitter and a healer. So I do count counterattack as being a hit because you are reflecting the damage that they're doing. It wasn't undispellable, so there wasn't anything that you couldn't work around, and he wasn't becoming a super meta hero at the top of all the leaderboards. Now what they've done is they've changed this to a direct health boost for all allies, which is so much worse because now he's just a healer, he's not a hitter. Yes, he does reduce the health of all allies as well, but that is not really a hit. It's a health reduction. Okay, so just to be clear about that, he has received a massive nerf because he was a damage dealer. He's now not a damage dealer anymore. So he boosts the health of all allies by 700. And then this little bit where it says they've added the soft skin cast for all allies. Initially, that looks like it could be the saving grace with removing the counter attack, because as we've just read, the soft skin is so much better now. All right. So he's added the soft skin cast for all allies. So the new special, all allies except the caster receive the soft skin. But here's the thing, guys. It doesn't tell you this in any of these notes, but when you look at his card, and I did have a little bit of a look around, so I will show it on the screen for you guys now. The soft skin effect for him lasts for 4 turns because of his speed. The soft skin effect for those around him, so the allies who are now the ones who are getting the soft skin, except for himself, they only get it for a single turn or a single hit. So the soft skin only lasts until they get hit. That soft skin then disappears. So it's only going to be in effect until they receive like a simple slash attack or a single tile, and then it goes away. And I did record another video because I have got Pop Hit on my team as well. So I will put that up here for you guys right now so you can have a little look at the way it works while I continue to talk about this. It is a terrible disguised nerf that we are seeing for Gartan. And we cannot sort of stand by and let them do this, honestly. Like, it really annoys me when they try and disguise a nerf as a buff. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It's not going to change the game, but I just want everybody to be aware that this is the way it works. This is a massive nerf for Gartan, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, he was a really good hero, really usable. Now all he's doing is boosting the health of all allies and reducing the health of all enemies. And it only takes a single tile or a single slash attack to remove that soft skin that he casts on all of his allies, except for himself. It would have been better if he kept the stone skin on himself because the soft skin, because it lasts for 4 turns. So it's so much better, or for 4 attacks. Now his stats have been increased. I mean, there's really nothing much to say about that because we now have the new master talents, we have the limit breaks, we have the ethers. We can increase the stats of heroes as much as we want. So adding extra stats, an extra 50 attack, that's basically 1 talent node on a talent grid, is not going to suddenly make up for this horrible nerf. Anyway, Pop Hit, he's had his stats increased. I mean, he probably doesn't need it, but that is what it is. And like I said, the stat increases are relatively minor. But again, like I say, they shouldn't really be increasing the stats and buffing the stats of the newest heroes in the game without taking into account the older heroes in the game. And they are getting left behind massively. I mean, we all know this. Now let's move on to the investigators and cultist families. Right. This is funny, man. Insanity's been updated, so it's no longer affected by healing from status effects, passive skills, minions, and other secondary sources. Okay, so basically you can't reduce the insanity. The reason for that is really, in my mind, is because you want to get rid of that insanity effect as quickly as possible, and healing it away by 10 insanity at a time is not going to do that. It'd be better just to let the insanity sit until the skill gets cast on the opposite team and then remove the insanity that way, because that is a quicker way to do it. Melancholia, she's received this ally health increase, revived ally health increase from 66 to 70%. So now when she revives allies, they come back with 70%. I mean, it's a minor increase of 4% in terms of the health that they get. And again, that effect can be cast on the opposite team. So it's kind of really, with these insane heroes, it's neither here nor there. The revived ally then insanity is reduced from 66 down to 50. So I think they're doing this reduction in insanity because they're realizing that the only people who are summoning these heroes are the heroes at the absolute top of the top, and they are not enjoying playing with them. Like I said, I've looked at, the top alliances to see these heroes, and the only one that seems to be still standing is my man Atwood, because he's got a really good effect. And I don't think the insanity makes too much of a difference to him. But the other heroes, they're definitely not making their rounds in the top of the meta. Definitely not Melancholia, because she's probably the one that can be of the biggest detriment to your team. And the problem with these heroes is that the better they make them, the worse it is for the people who own them, because they can be casting their special the opposite way around. So it just doesn't make any sense, right? It's a bit insane. I think you guys need to think about this a bit harder. The insanity reduction is just because they want to keep the top players happy. And that's my opinion on it. Those are my thoughts. But I think they've made a bit of a mess with the insanity heroes. Now, the Owl family. So they've received a passive skill, which is a mana increase reduction. So it reduces the amount of mana increase by special skills by 80%. I'm okay with that, actually. I think it's pretty cool. It's a decent passive, and it's an interesting one because it will affect heroes like Nautica, for example. I think it will. Mana increase by special skills. She's not, she's gifting mana, so it might not. But I believe it will be of impact to heroes like Nautica and also heroes like Ludwig, who can cause some pretty serious problems. Other heroes that increase mana generation are going to get that reduced by 80%. So yeah, I'm kind of a fan of that passive. I think it's pretty good, and I don't think it's super overpowered. And obviously, they did need a decent passive, so that's fine. Now, Varus has received a buff, so his Moonrise Strike damage has been increased from 1,000 up to 1,200. That's at the maximum damage. Granted, his damage wasn't really that good. He is doing damage to all, though, so he's a pretty good hero now. I think that damage increase was necessary for him. What I don't think is necessary is the stats increase. Just leave the stats alone. Let us do the stats with the talent grid. Let us do it with the ethers and things like that. Just honestly leave them alone. The bleed damage increase as well, due to the attack stat increase, obviously 900 to 924. So they are mentioning that the damage over time is linked to the attack stat, which I think is quite important for people to know. As you level these kind of heroes, you do want to focus primarily on, with dot damage dealers, you want to focus primarily on the attack stat to increase the amount of damage over time that they're able to do. So yeah, a pretty decent buff for Varus. So if you got him, you can be definitely pretty thankful about that. Mariel, this one she didn't need. Moonrise Ward damage reduction increased from 600 to 700. So you're just making one of the best healers and sort of protection type tank heroes in the game much better, which is horrible, and I don't know why they're doing this. But if you do have Mariel, you've obviously just increased her usability quite a lot. Not that she wasn't really usable before. She is a fantastic hero, and like I say, she's a great healer and a great protector of your team. Again, she doesn't need the stats increase. It's really not necessary, but that is what she's got. So yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of the buff for Mariel. I really don't think that she needs it. I think that, again, if you read between the lines with this kind of thing, you can just see it smacks of, okay, this Owl Portal's not doing very well. So what we're going to do is let's just increase the stats. Let's make all of these heroes, as many of them as we possibly can, better in certain areas, and try and get more people to summon in these portals. And that shouldn't be the reason why you change heroes. The reason why you balance heroes should be because they are creating an imbalance in your game. And most of these heroes that we've just looked at, Mariel, Varus, Melancholia, Pop Hit, Gartan, are any of these heroes creating an imbalance in this game at the moment? a solid, easy answer is no. None of those heroes are creating an imbalance in the game at the moment. If you want to look at heroes that are creating an imbalance in the game, look at heroes like Timaeus, look at heroes like Shal, look at these kind of heroes. And guys, I'm sorry, I'm just putting names out there, but you know this is true. They need to be looking at those kind of heroes. Those are the ones that are causing an imbalance. Anyway, moving on. So we have Livia. Livia's just received a pretty basic stats increase. She's a fantastic hero. She doesn't really need it. Again, like I said, it's just to get more pulls. And then moving on to the Sun and Moon families. So obviously the season 5 heroes, they've received a costume bonus increase. It's definitely needed. I mean, but again, I really don't like the fact that it's attached to the costumes. But by this point, that's not something that we can ever kind of get away from. If you want to increase the stats of your heroes nowadays, you do need to summon the costume, or you need to wait until the costume comes around in the soul exchange to be able to make them a bit more relevant. They did need that increase. But again, like I say, it's attached to the costumes. You should just increase the base stats of the older heroes by certain percentages and be done with this madness. Anyway, the next one is the Underworld family. Pretty much the exact same thing. Their attack, defense, and health has gone up by 1% more than the Sun and Moon families. I mean, were the Underworld family 1% less good stat-wise than the Sun and Moon families? I think they're probably not. I think they're probably about 5 or 10% worse than the Sun and Moon families. So that increase is definitely not enough for them. It needs to be higher. It needs to be, 20%. If you're going to give 16% to the Sun and Moon, the Underworld really should have 20% on the attack defense, maybe 30% on the health, and keep the 5% mana generation. I mean, we know why that has to stay at 5%. The Sand Empire family. These heroes, obviously, they're coming around in a portal pretty soon. I mean, obviously, it's summertime coming up, so woohoo, sun's out, guns out. So we know that the Sand Empire is going to be back pretty soon. So obviously, this is in preparation for that. It may well give me a reason to level Rana, but it certainly gives me a bit more use from Costume Rock. I think he's probably one of the only heroes that's really benefiting from that at the moment. Like I said, Rana's pretty good. The Surfer Chick costume version for her, but like if you put her alongside Matilda with Rock, you can have a pretty devastating team there. But like, it's about the synergy that you're using to build the heroes, and that's my kind of thing that I like to do with the dot damage. But that being said, again, a 15% increase compared to the other ones that we've seen from the Underworld and the Sun and Moon, and the Sand Empire are technically older than both of those families of heroes. I would say that they really do need a bigger buff than that, again, to keep them relevant. Then we've got Bow and Runt, our Runty Hero of the Month. They've increased his element link duration to be in line with other heroes of the month, from 3 to 6 turns. Why would you not release him in line with other heroes of the month? I mean, come on, that is just, you're making yourself look like a bit of an idiot if you're doing that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm having to go at this at SG and Zynga and whoever else, to be fair, but I think they deserve it, to be honest. And that's just making yourself look a bit stupid. And then to add insult to injury, we have Toon Gormek, whose attack ailment has been replaced with a defense ailment. So for some reason, they released the Toon version with a negative 24% attack for 6 turns, when it should have been a negative 24% defense for 6 turns. Man, these last 2 points are just making you guys look dumb. Anyway, Toon Gormek has been fixed and not reworked, or whatever the word there was that they used, but he's just been put back to how he should have been anyway. And then we've got the heroes of the month that have received buffs. So we've got Alacy, direct damage increase 462 to 492, costume direct damage 436 to 466. She is still one of the most used heroes. out of the older heroes of the month. And I do think that she deserves a little bit of a stat boost. But, you know, the damage boost will do as well. Clarissa, terrible hero. Direct damage has been increased 155 to 175. Poison damage increased from 284 to 344. That could potentially be pretty good. But again, like only if you're increasing it with a damage, like dot damage increaser, and they all deal poison. So that's not really going to work. So yeah, I would leave Clarissa alone. Yang Mai, direct damage increased up to 340. Stacking attack buff increased 5 to 6%. It's really not going to make her a great hero. Suzuna is a good hero of the month, actually. The heal over time's increased from 600 to 750. Again, it's really small. It's not enough. And, you know, nothing really shy of, you know, a complete stat rework for these older heroes is going to make the difference. So yeah, it says they hope the adjustments will help us field the heroes in a wider range of situations. Well, from what I've read there, they certainly, for pretty much all of these heroes, will not help you. I think let's have a look over these quickly again. So obviously the premier heroes are remaining the premier heroes. But yeah, I can't really see that being a thing where this is going to help us field these heroes in a wider range of situations. You know, so in summary, the Gargoyle family buffed basically is just an excuse to nerf Gartan when he didn't need it, and then you know, get people excited about the Gargoyles that are coming, I think, tomorrow. So we'll be having a look at the new Gargoyles then. So please do look out for that. The Investigator and Cultist families updates are just because this insanity thing is insane and the people at the top are probably getting pretty upset about it. The Owl family buffs, the new passive skill, that one I kind of like the most out of all of them so far, so I'm pretty much a fan of that, except that Mariel didn't need a buff. But otherwise the other two, the other one, the one in the middle, Varus did. And the passive is decent. The costume bonuses buffs, again, like I said before, the percentages are a bit too low for a lot of them. Bone Runt and Costume Gourmet is just insulting, you guys. And the Hero of the Month buffs, you know, aside from a Lacey and potentially Suzuna, I don't think you're going to get too much use out of that. So that is literally everything for the May 2024 balance update. I hope that you guys have found the video useful and a bit insightful. Please do comment and let me know your thoughts on this. I mean, I'm really appreciating the kind of response that we're getting from the community at the moment. Just being able to make some noise, you know, drop us a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any future videos, and share it with your mother. Share it with your mother, share it with your friends, and yeah. Let's keep this thing going, guys. Let's keep the conversation going. And I will have an update, like I say, on the masterclass emblems, a masterclass for the master talents. Yeah, that will be coming soon. So watch this space. I wish you guys everything of the best. See you all again next time. Bye for now.